Hi, my name is Ricky, and I'm one of the CDL instructors here at Indigo. Today I'll be showing you how to perform your 4-point brake inspection, your pre-trip inspection in order to attain your CDL license for Indigo, for here at Indigo. First, we will start out with the 4-point brake inspection, and I have to get on the coach to start that. Uh, when you enter the coach, always use your 3 points of contact. That's using both hands on something as you go up and down out of the coach. Okay? So you also 3 points of contact on the bus. In your seat. In your seat. And once you're in your seat, the first thing you need to do is make sure you have your seatbelt on. You don't have to talk about it, but you do have to have it on. Okay? So once I get my seatbelt on now, I will make sure my coach is safe to start, and that's by making sure that my door air is in normal position, confirm that my parking brake is pulled up. Then I'm going to turn my coach to night run. That would be 2 clicks. 1, 2. You'll feel it in your hand when you turn it to 2 clicks. Once I confirm this, turn it on two clicks, I confirm that my transmission is in neutral. It should say in. Once I know that's letting me know this is safe to start, so I'm gonna start the coach up. Once the coach started up, at that point I will let him know that now I'm about to start my 4-point brake inspection, and he would acknowledge by saying, okay, I need for you to pump your air pressure down to 90 psi and let it build back between 120. And at that point, that's all you do is just pump it down till your air gauge get to 90 using the green gauge. Okay. Once you get the green gauge, let him know that you are letting your air pressure build up between 120 and 140. And at that point, your air compressor will shut off when the gauge get between 120 and 140. So at this point, you're just waiting for it to build up. And you also can use your fast idle switch. That will help build the RPMs up to make the air pressure build up a little faster. Okay. My gauges have stopped rising between 120 and 140. I will let him know that at this point. I no longer need my coach running, so now I have to shut it off. And the way I'm going to shut it off, you have to turn it to night part, back to night run. And turn it to night part, which is that last click to the right. Switch it back to night run. Confirm that my lights and gauges are functioning. After that, I will release my parking brake. After I release my parking brake, then I will ask him to time me for 1 minute to make sure I'm not losing no more than 3 psi in that minute. And he'll say, go, you step on your brake pedal, you hold it down till he say time up. Okay, my time, he would say time up, and I come up off my brake pedal at that point, and I let him know that I did not lose no more than 3 psi in that minute. Okay, the next step I will perform is to make sure that I'm checking my low warning devices, which would be my low brake air light will come on, and that light should come on before I reach, when I'm pumping my brakes down, come on before I reach 55 psi. So I'm watching the light, not the gauge. Look for the low air light pop up. Once the low air light pop up, I will stop pumping and let him know where that light came on. Okay, the light just came on, and that light came on at 75 psi. Okay, the next step I would do would be to pump my brakes down till my parking brake pop out, and that should happen between 45 and 20 psi. Pumping, waiting on my parking brake to pop out. Okay, my parking brake has popped out, and it popped out at 45 psi, and that concludes my 4-point brake inspection. Okay, so at this point, he will let you know, okay, you did great on your 4-point brake inspection. Go ahead and do your pre-trip. So when he tell you you can go ahead and start your pre-trip, all you have to do is restart your coach and just start from there. Okay? So I'm restarting the coach. All I have to do is just hit the starter button. Once it fire up, I'm gonna wait for the buzzer to go out so he can hear me talk. Okay, so once I start the coach up, the first thing I want to do is let it know my ABS light has came on and going off. As I'm already looking up there, so the next thing I need to do is let him know I'm gonna check my lighting indicators, which would be my left turn signal, the right turn signal, my high beams, my low beams, and my four-way flashes. Okay, all those things are working correctly. Next thing I want to check is I will come down and I'll check my horn. My horn is working fine. I'll come down now and do my other two brake tests, which would be my service brake and my parking brake. I like doing my service brake first, but when you perform the service brake test, he's not going to have you move the coach. He just want to give you, tell him how you will perform it. And how I will perform it is, I will let him know that I will pull forward about 5 miles an hour, and when I hit my brakes, my wheel doesn't go left or right. Okay, that's all you have to tell him. Now my parking brake test, that's a little different. I had to perform that one. So first thing I do is make sure my door is closed. If the coach is nailed, I unneel it. Then I will put my coach in, confirm that my parking brake is pulled up, okay, in the up position. I'll put the coach in drive. Once it goes into drive, I'll just tug on my gas pedal just a little bit, just to make sure that this parking brake is holding the coach. And that's all you have to do. Let it know the parking brake held, and make sure you go back to neutral. Okay? Once I finish my parking brake test, now I'm gonna come up to my panel. I will do my DEF, which is in my diesel exhaust fluid levels. Let him know that that level should be no less than 1/8 of a tank. Then I will come over, perform my defrost and my heat, which I will check my defrost here at the top. And then I turn my selector to the bottom, to the floor, and I'll check my heat at the bottom. Let him know both of those are working properly. Next I would check would be my windshield wiper with fluid. I hold the button down till fluid comes out. I will let it know my windshield wiper is working fine with fluid. It's properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and have a good rubber blade and it fit flush to the windshield. Since I'm here, I might well go ahead and tell them about the windshield. The windshield is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and there's nothing obstructing my view. Then I will move up to my mirrors, my inside and outside mirrors. I'll make sure those are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and they are set for me. Okay? Next, I will open my door, open and close the doors. Let it know that those doors, open and close is properly. They properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and has a good rubber seal. Okay? Come on down to my handrails. Notice I'm pointing and grabbing everything that I'm talking about. He wants you to touch and point to everything. So I'm grabbing my handrails, make sure those are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and not missing any nuts or bolts. Also, my lights, my entry lights are properly mounted, secured. They're not cracked, broke, or damaged, and they are working. My lift ramp, my ramp, is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. It goes in and out properly, and it has no leaks. Okay? Coming into the passenger area, I have my cameras here. They're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and they work. I have my fire extinguishers. Some is in a box right here, and then others are behind the seat, mostly behind the seat. So, but this one is in this box here, and I let it know my fire extinguisher is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged. It's fully charged, weighs 7 pounds, and it's an ABC rate. I also have my reflective triangles here, and I have my circuit breaker overhead with plenty of fuse with my fuses that works. Okay. I have 6 emergency windows, the one with the red handles, 3 on this side, 3 on this side. They all properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged, and they open and close this properly. You have to open one of them for it to demonstrate. Okay. Next, I have my 2 emergency roof hatches, one in the front and one in the rear. Both of those are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, and they open and close this properly. I have my passenger seating. They are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, and not missing any nuts or bolts. Okay? At this point, you will have him step off the coach to check your front and rear lenses. We're not going to do this for the video, but all you have to do, he's get in the rear, he want to check your turn signals and your four-ways. And then he's going to go to the front and he's going to check your high beams and low beams, your turn signals, and your four-ways. Okay? Then once he complete those, he would come back to the coach and you would turn the coach off so you can go outside and do your outside of the coach inspection. Before you cut your coach off, always switch this, the air switch to release, and then you can turn the coach off, all the way to the off position. Okay? 3 points of contact off the bus. First thing I want to do when I get off the coach is let him know I'm going to check my outside cameras. They are properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, and they work. I will check my lenses on this side of the coach. Make sure that they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged. They're clean and in their proper colors. Okay. The front of the coach, I would do the same thing with my lenses. I would make sure they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged. They're clean and in their proper color. On this side of the bus, I would check my mirrors, which both mirrors inside and out. Both mirrors on both sides. Make sure they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, and they are attached to the bus. I will also do my lenses on this side, make sure they're properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, they're working, and in their proper color, okay? I will drop down to my battery. It's in this compartment right here. I'll let it know that my battery is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broken, damaged, free of corrosion, it's not leaking, and my cables are attached at both ends. After that, I will drop down to my gearbox and hoses, which will be down in this area here. You need to be pointing to that area. Let him know that my gearbox and hoses is properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, broken, damaged. My hoses are connected at both ends. They don't have any abrasion, bulges, or cuts, and it's not leaking, okay? The other part of your steering components would be behind the tire, which is your rods and links. Okay, the rods and links, you want to make sure that those are properly mounted and secured, that they're not cracked, broken, or damaged, and not missing the calcium nut or cotter pin, okay? All right, behind there as well is my suspension. We got 4 parts to the suspension we have to tell them about. The 4 parts of the suspension is my airbags, shock absorbers, mounts, and torque bar. Run all of them in together, okay? I'm gonna talk about all 4 of those together. And I'm letting you know all of those are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, broken, or damaged. The airbags doesn't have any air leaks. The shock absorber is not leaking any fluid, and all those parts are attached at both ends. Next, I want to talk about in this area back here would be my brake. And all I'm mentioning is the brake lines and hoses. Okay, I'm letting you know that those brake lines and hoses is properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, broke, or damaged. They don't have any abrasion, bulges, or cuts. Attached to both ends, are not leaking, and free of contaminants. Coming on out. Now I can see the stuff that I need to talk about. And I'm gonna start with the tire and work my way inward. So with the tire, I'm gonna let him know I'm gonna check my tire pressure with a tire pressure gauge to make sure it's inflated to 100 PSI. I'm gonna check my depth gauge, check my depth of the tire with a depth gauge to make sure that it's no less than 4/32 of an inch deep. I'll make sure this tire itself is evenly worn. Make sure the sidewalls don't have any abrasion, bulges, or cuts. All right, so I'm gonna move on down to the valve stem, and it's located right here. I'll let him know my valve stem is properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. It's not leaking, and has a cap on it. Next I'm gonna do is my rim. I'm gonna check my rim, make sure that rim is properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. It's free of, it's not elongated, and it's not dent, bent, and no wells. Next I want to do is my lug nuts and studs. The lug nuts and studs are properly mounted and secured. They're not cracked, broke, or damaged. They're not loose, they're all tight. If one was loose, it'll have shiny threads or rust indicating it being loose. Okay, that's it at that tire area. Now I would do underneath the bus, and I would just let him know that I would check my frame, make sure my frame is properly mounted, secured. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. It's straight, no illegal welds or holes. Okay. At the rear of the coach, when I get to the rear of the coach, first thing I want to check for is let him know that my coach is level, it's not leaking. And then I will let him know about my rear lenses. Let him know that my lenses is properly mounted, secured, not cracked, broke, or damaged. They're clean and in their proper color. All right. Next, I will go in the engine compartment. And I will let him know as soon as I open my engine compartment that I do not hear any audible air leaks. Okay. Next, I will let him know that my coolant up here in this corner, my oil, which is the yellow dipstick, and then my power steering pump, which is back in there. You can't see it. So just point in that general area. He'll know what you're talking about. As long as you point in the right area. Let him know all those things are at their proper level and they're not leaking. Okay. That's it right there. So on the curved side of the coach, first thing I want to check is my depth tank and cap. I will let him open the door and let him know that my depth cap and tank is properly mounted, secure. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. It's not leaking. My cap is on tight, and the fluid level shouldn't be no less than 1/8 of a tank. Right here is my fuel tank and cap. Have to talk about it as well. Let it know my fuel cap and tank is properly mounted and secured. It's not cracked, broke, or damaged. The cap is on tight, and neither one is leaking. And that concludes my inspection for today. That'll be it.